Like to Ahasuerus, that shrewd prince, I will begin. As is these 7 years now my daily wont, and read a history written by one whose deft right hand was dust to the last digit, ages ere my birth, of all my predecessors, popes of Rome. For though mine ancient early dropped the pen, yet others picked it up and wrote it dry, since of the making books there is no end. And so I have the papacy complete, from Peter first to Alexander last, can question each and take instruction so. Have I to dare? I ask, how dared this pope to suffer? Such a one, how suffered he? Being about to judge as now, I seek how judged once, well or ill, some other pope. Study some signal judgment that subsists to blaze on or else blot the page which seals the sum up of what gain or loss to God came of his one more vicar in the world. So do I find example, rule of life. So, square and set in order the next page shall be stretched smooth where mine own funeral sist. 800 years exact before the year I was made pope, men made Formosus pope, say Siegbert and other chroniclers. Ere I confirm or quash the trial here of Guido Franceschini and his friends, read how there was a ghastly trial once of a dead man by a live man, and both popes. Thus, in the antique penman's very phrase, then Stephen, pope and 7th of the name, cried out in synod as he sat in state, while choler quivered on his brow and beard, "Come into court, Formosus, thou lost wretch, that claim'st to be late pope as even I." And at the word, the great door of the church flew wide, and in they brought Formosus' self, the body of him, dead, even as embalmed and buried duly in the Vatican 8 months before, exhumed thus for the nonce. They set it, that dead body of a pope, clothed in pontific vesture now again, upright on Peter's chair, as if alive. And Stephen, springing up, cried furiously, "Bishop of Porto, wherefore didst presume to leave that see and take this Roman see? Exchange the lesser for the greater see, a thing against the canons of the church." Then one, a deacon, who, observing forms, was placed by Stephen to repel the charge, be advocate and mouthpiece of a corpse, spoke as he dared, set stammeringly forth with white lips and dry tongue, as but a youth, for frightful was the corpse face to behold. How nowise lacked there precedent for this? But when, for his last precedent of all, emboldened by the Spirit, out he blurts, and, Holy Father, didst not thou thyself vacate the lesser for the greater see, half a year since change Arago for Rome? Ye have the sin's defense now, synod mine, shrieks Stephen in a beastly froth of rage. Judge now, betwixt him dead and me alive. Hath he intruded, or do I pretend? Judge, judge, breaks wave like one whole foam of wrath. And whereupon they, being friends and followers, said, "Aye, thou art Christ's vicar, and not he. Away with what is frightful to behold. This act was uncanonic and a fault." Then, swallowed up in rage, Stephen exclaimed, "So, guilty! So remains I punish guilt. He is unpoped, and all he did I damn. The bishop that ordained him I degrade, depose to laics those he raised to priests. What they have wrought is mischief, nor shall stand. It is confusion. Let it vex no more, since I revoke, annul, and abrogate all his decrees in all kinds. they are void. In token whereof and warning to the worlds, strip me, yon miscreant, of those robes usurped, and clothe him with vile serge befitting such. Then hale the carrion to the marketplace. Let the town hangman chop from his right hand those same 3 fingers which he blessed withal. Next cut the head off, once was crowned forsooth. And last go fling them, fingers, head, and trunk, to Tiber, that my Christian fish may sup. Either because ichthos, which means fish, and very aptly symbolizes Christ, or else because the Pope is fisherman and seals with fisher's signet. Anyway, so said, so done. Himself, to see it done, followed the corpse they trailed from street to street, till into Tiber wave they threw the thing. The people crowded on the banks to see were loud or mute, wept or laughed, cursed or jeered, according as the deed addressed their sense. A scandal, verily. And outspake a Jew, "What ye your Christ had vexed our Herod thus?" Now when, Formosus being dead a year, his judge, Pope Stephen, tasted death in turn, made captive by the mob and strangled straight, Romanus, his successor for a month, did make protest Formosus was with God, holy, just, true in thought and word and deed. Next Theodore, who reigned but 20 days, therein convoked a synod, whose decree did reinstate, repope the late unpoped, and do away with Stephen as accursed. So that when presently certain fisherfolk, as if the queasy river could not hold, it swallowed Jonas, but discharged the meal, produced the timely product of their nets, the mutilated man, Formosus, saved from putrefaction by the embalmer's spice, or, as some said, by sanctity of flesh. Why, lay the body again, bay Theodore, among his predecessors in the church and burial place of Peter, which was done. And, addeth Louis Prand, many of repute, pious and still alive, avouch to me that as they bore the body up the aisle, the saints in imaged row bowed each his head, for welcome to a brother saint come back. As for Romanus and this Theodore, these 2 popes, through the brief reign granted each, could but initiate what John came to close and give the final stamp to. He it was, 9th of the name, I follow the best guides, who, in full synod at Ravenna held, with bishops 74, and present to Eudes king of France with his archbishopry, did condemn Stephen, anathematize the disinterment, and make all blots blank. For, argueth here Auxilius in a place de ordinationibus, precedents had been no lack before Formosus long, of bishops so transferred from sea to sea. Marinus, for example, read the tract. But after John came Sergius, reaffirmed the right of Stephen, cursed Formosus, nay, cast out, some say, his corpse a second time. And here, because the matter went to ground, fretted by new griefs, other cares of the age, here is the last pronouncing of the Church, her sentence that subsists unto this day. Yet constantly opinion hath prevailed in the Church. Formosus was a holy man. Which of the judgments was infallible? Which of my predecessors spoke for God? And what availed Formosus that this cursed, that blessed, and then this other cursed again? Fear ye not those whose power can kill the body and not the soul, saith Christ, but rather those can cast both soul and body into hell. John judged thus in 898, exact 800 years ago today, when sitting in his stead, vicegerent here, I must give judgment on my own book. So worked the predecessor. Now my turn. In God's name, once more on this earth of gods, while twilight lasts and time wherein to work, I take his staff with my uncertain hand, and stay my 66 years, my due labor and sorrow, on his judgment seat. And forthwith think, speak, act in place of him, the Pope for Christ. Once more appeal is made from man's assize to mine. I sit and see another poor, weak, trembling human wretch, pushed by his fellows who pretend the right, up to the gulf which, where I gaze, begins from this world to the next, gives way and way, just on the edge over the awful dark, with nothing to arrest him but my feet. He catches at me with convulsive face, cries, "Leave to live the natural minute more," while hollowly the avengers echo, "Leave none." So has he exceeded man's due share and man's fit license, wrung by Adam's fall, to sin and yet not surely die, that we, all of us sinful, all with need of grace, all carry of our life the minute more or minute less of grace which saves a soul, bound to make common cause with who craves time. We yet protest against the exorbitance of sin in this one sinner, and demand that his poor soul remaining piece of time be plucked from out his clutch. Put him to death, punish him now. As for the weal or woe hereafter, God grant mercy. Man, be just, nor let the felon boast he went scot-free. And I am bound, the solitary judge, to weigh the worth, decide upon the plea, and either hold a hand out, or withdraw a foot, and let the wretch drift to the fall. And while thus I dally, dare perchance put fancies for a comfort twixt this calm and yonder passion that I have to bear, as if reprieve were possible for both prisoner and Pope. How easy were reprieve! A touch of the handbell here, a hasty word to those who wait, and wonder they wait long, in the passage there, and I should gain the life. Yea, though I flatter me with fancy thus, I know it is but nature's craven trick. The case is over, judgment at an end, and all things done now, and irrevocable. A mere dead man is Franceschini here, even as Formosus centuries ago. I have worn through this somber wintry day, with winter in my soul beyond the worlds, over these dismalest of documents, which drew night down on me ere eve befell. Pleadings and counter-pleadings, figure of fact beside fact's self, these summaries, to wit, how certain 3 were slain by certain 5. I read here why it was, and how it went, and how the chief of the 5 preferred excuse, and how law rather chose defense should lie. What argument he urged by wary word, when free to play off while, start subterfuge, and what the unguarded groan told, torture's feet, when law grew brutal, outbroke, overbore, and glutted hunger on the truth at last. No matter for the flesh and blood between. All's a clear read, and no more riddle now. Truth nowhere, yet lies everywhere in these. Not absolutely in a portion, yet evolvable from the whole. Evolved at last painfully, held tenaciously by me. Therefore there is not any doubt to clear, when I shall write the brief word presently, and chink the handbell, which I pause to do. Irresolute? Not I. more than the mound with the pine trees on it yonder. Some surmise, perchance, that since man's wit is fallible, mine may fail here. Suppose it so. What then? Say, Guido I count guilty. There's no babe so guiltless, for I misconceive the man. What's in the chance should move me from my mind? If as I walk in a rough countryside, peasants of mine cry, Thou art he, can help, lord of the land, and count it wise to butte. Look at our brother, strangling in his foam. He fell so where we find him. Prove thy worth. I may presume, pronounce, a frenzy fit, a falling sickness, or a fever stroke. Breathe a vein, copiously let blood at once. So perishes the patient, and anon I hear my peasants. All was error, Lord, our story, thy prescription. For there crawled in due time from our hapless brother's breast the serpent which had stung him. Bleeding slew, whom a prompt cordial had restored to health. What other should I say, then? God so willed. Mankind is ignorant. A man am I. Call ignorance my sorrow, not my sin. So, and not otherwise, in after time, if some acuter wit, fresh probing, sound this multifarious mass of words and deeds deeper, in reach through guilt to innocent, I shall face Guido's ghost, nor blench a jot. God, who set me to judge thee, meted out so much of judging faculty, no more. Ask him if I was slack in use thereof. I hold a heavier fault imputable, inasmuch as I changed a chaplain once for no cause. No, if I must bear my heart, save that he snuffled somewhat, saying mass. For I am where it is the seed of act God holds appraising in his hollow palm. Not act grown great thence on the world below, leafage and branchage vulgar eyes admire. Therefore I stand on my integrity, nor fear at all. And if I hesitate, it is because I need to breathe a while. Rest as the human right allows. Review, intent, the little seeds of act, my tree. The thought which clothed in deed I give the world at chink of bell and push of arrased door.